gang, welcome back. Today I'm going to read to you Grandfather's Journey. This is a Caldecott award-winning book. If you remember, Caldecott award-winning books are books that are recognized for their awesome illustrations. So what I want to do is read to you, and then I'm going to give you a minute to look at each page because the pictures in this book are totally awesome. This is also a nonfiction book. You may remember us talking about fiction versus nonfiction. Fiction books are made up in the author's imagination, while nonfiction books are taken from real life. So this is a nonfiction book. It's a true story. Grandfather's Journey. I think you're going to like this book. My grandfather was a young man when he left his home in Japan and went to see the world. He wore European clothes for the first time and began his journey on a steamship. The Pacific Ocean astonished him. Okay. There's the author's grandfather. See him on that ship? For 3 weeks, he did not see land. When land finally appeared, it was the New World. He explored North America by train and riverboat, and often walked for days on end. Look at that train. Deserts with rocks like enormous sculptures amazed him. The endless farm fields reminded him of the ocean he had crossed. See those rock sculptures? Walking through a field. Huge cities of factories and tall buildings bewildered and yet excited him. He marveled at the towering mountains and rivers as clear as the sky. He met many people along the way. He shook hands with black men and white men, with yellow men and red men. The more he traveled, the more he longed to see new places and never thought of returning home. Of all the places he visited, he liked California best. He loved the strong sunlight there, the Sierra Mountains, the lonely seacoast. After a time, he returned to his village in Japan to marry his childhood sweetheart. Then he brought his bride to the new country. Here's the coast of California. California is a state all the way on the other side of the country. So we're on the East Coast and they're on the West Coast. There he is with his new bride. They made their home by the San Francisco Bay and had a baby girl. As his daughter grew, my grandfather began to think about his own childhood. He thought about his old friends. There they are with their baby, right? He remembered the mountains and rivers of his home. He surrounded himself with songbirds, but he could not forget. Finally, when his daughter was nearly grown, he could wait no more. He took his family and returned to his homeland. Do you remember where they said he was from? Japan. That's a country on the other side of Earth, right? Once again, he saw the mountains and rivers of his childhood. They were just as he had remembered them. Once again, he exchanged stories and laughed with his old friends. That's a nice reunion. But the village was not a place for a daughter from San Francisco. So my grandfather bought a house in a large city nearby. There, the young woman fell in love, married, and sometime later, I was born. So there she is, okay, his daughter. And there she is with her new husband. The author's parents, right? When I was a small boy, my favorite weekend was a visit to my grandfather's house. He told me many stories about California. He raised warblers and silver eyes, but he could not forget the mountains and rivers of California. So he planned a trip. This is a picture, a drawing, or an illustration of the author with his grandfather, right? But a war began. Bombs fell from the sky and scattered our lives like leaves in a storm. When the war ended, there was nothing left of the city and of the house where my grandparents had lived. That's very sad. So they returned to the village where they had been children. But my grandfather never kept another songbird. The last time I saw him, my grandfather said that he longed to see California one more time. He never did. There they are, going back to the village. And when I was nearly grown, I left home and went to see California for myself. After a time, I came to love the land my grandfather had loved, and I stayed on until I had a daughter of my own. But I also miss the mountains and rivers of my childhood. I miss my old friends, so I return now and then when I cannot still the longing in my heart. The funny thing is, The moment I'm in one country, I am homesick for the other. There he is all grown up, right? And then, I think I know my grandfather now. I miss him very much. So that's a photograph. Not really a photograph, an illustration of a photograph of his grandfather. The end. I like that story. I hope you did too. All right, see you again soon.